Okay, so we shall continue with the chapter anti-emetics. We have covered in the last lecture the prokinetic drugs. Metoclopramide we have seen in details, and the of course the other congeners also. Okay, what are the properties? Okay, so over there we have seen mainly they act by D2 antagonistic action or 5-HT3 antagonistic action or a 5-HT4 agonistic property. Okay, ultimately they result in release of the ACH, okay, because of which the gastric motility is increased, okay, and the LES tone is increased. Okay. Now coming to the next class, that is 5-HT3 antagonist. Okay, so this drug also we have covered already earlier under the chapter serotonin under autocoids. Okay, that is 5-HT 5-hydroxytryptamine. It is also known as serotonin, which is one of the type of autocoids. So over there also we came across these words, okay, or these examples: ondansetron, granisetron, palinosetron and all. Okay, so these same 5-HT3 antagonists are also used as anti-emetic drugs. Okay, now coming to the first drug under this category, that is ondansetron. Okay, now this drug, it is the prototype drug of this particular class, okay, which was introduced mainly to control the cancer chemotherapy or radiation therapy associated vomiting. Okay, so generally if you can see the cancer patients in whom chemotherapy has to be given, okay, or radiotherapy is supposed to be given, so in them vomiting is quite a common problem. Okay, so a severe type of vomiting may be induced by this chemotherapy or radiotherapy. So initially these drugs were introduced for specifically for the chemotherapy or radiotherapy induced vomiting, but then later it was also found that they were also effective in post-operative nausea and vomiting also. Okay, so after certain operations, during recovery from the anesthesia, the most common problem or the most common complication is nausea and vomiting. That's what we have seen under the general anesthetics chapter. So these drugs were found to be effective in such post-operative nausea and vomiting also. They can effectively control. Okay. Coming to the mechanism of action. Okay, so as from the name of the class, it is very clear that they act by blocking the 5-HT3 receptor. Okay, so they are 5-HT3 antagonists. Okay, so they block the depolarizing action of 5-HT through 5-HT3 receptors. So binding of 5-HT to its receptor, specifically the 5-HT3 subtype of receptor on the vagal efferents which are originating from the GIT, which are carrying the signals towards the CNS, as well as the 5-HT3 receptors in the NTS and CTZ are also present. So those receptors can also be blocked by this particular drug ondansetron. Okay, now let us see how exactly this chemotherapy or radiation induce the vomiting. Okay, and how these drugs are helpful specifically in the chemotherapy or radiation associated nausea and vomiting. Okay, so now these chemotherapy it includes administration of certain drugs which are cytotoxic in nature. That is, they will start killing the cancer cells. Okay, so cancer is nothing but your own cells outgrow, right? So there are formations of tumors sometimes. Okay, so cytotoxic drugs, that is most of the drugs which are given for chemotherapy, they act by killing those cells, cancer cells. Okay, so these are cytotoxic drugs. Okay, so also radiation, when radiation therapy is given to destroy those cancerous cells, it produces nausea and vomiting. Okay, now how exactly these are producing nausea and vomiting? Let us see what is the mechanism by which these chemotherapy or radiation therapy will produce the nausea and vomiting. Okay, so basically when these drugs or the radiation is instituted, cellular damage will take place, right? So they act by destroying the cancerous cells. Okay, but cancerous cells are nothing but our own body cells. So because of these cellular damage, certain mediators will be released. Okay, so you are already aware that any kind of damage in our body, if it takes place, your body won't just keep quiet, right? It will try to repair that particular situation. So certain mediators are released. Okay, so because of this cellular damage caused by these therapy for the cancer, it will induce the release of 5-HT also, which is one of the mediators. So 5-HT release from the intestinal mucosa is increased, okay, by the cellular damage. So whatever 5-HT is released from the intestinal mucosa, we are already aware that 5-HT is mostly present in the gut mucosa. Okay, so whatever is synthesized in the intestinal mucosa, because of the damage, it will start releasing this as a mediator. So whatever 5-HT is released, it causes the activation of the vagal efferents in your gut. So this the impulses which are carried through these vagal efferents towards your vomiting center, okay, that is emetogenic impulses which are generated, these are carried towards the NTS and the CTZ, and we are all aware that these are the two very important areas in the medulla oblongata which really relate towards the vomiting center. Okay, so this is how exactly the cytotoxic drug or radiations will induce the vomiting. Okay, 5-HT3 release is enhanced because of the cellular damage. This in turn will activate the vagal efferents from the gut wall, okay, which is originating. So those emetogenic impulses are carried towards NTS and CTZ. Okay, now ondansetron, coming to the mechanism of ondansetron. This blocks both these emetogenic impulses also in the periphery, which are being carried from the gut wall towards the NTS and CTZ. Okay, plus this also acts centrally. Okay, when further the impulse is carried, okay, towards the vomiting center. So over there also ondansetron block these emetogenic impulses. Okay. So this is the basic mechanism by which this ondansetron shows the antiemetic action, and since it is acting on the 5-HT3 receptors, blocking the 5-HT receptors or blocking the impulses which are generated by 5-HT, which is an important mediator released because of this cellular damage caused by cytotoxic drug or radiation. So this is the reason why this is quite effective in controlling the chemotherapy or radiation induced nausea and vomiting. Okay. Apart from that, because of the 5-HT3 blockage, this drug also have gastrokinetic action also. Okay, that's what we have seen under the metoclopramide also. Okay, so because of the blockage of 5-HT3 receptors, ACH release will be augmented and GI motility will be enhanced. Okay. Apart from 5-HT3 blockage, this drug also has some degree of 5-HT4 antagonistic property also. Okay, but this is a minor pathway. Basically 5-HT3 blockage is responsible for the antiemetic property. Coming to the pharmacokinetics, oral bioavailability of this drug is just 60 to 70% because of the first pass metabolism which takes place before it enters into the systemic circulation. Okay. Then metabolism part, it is metabolized mainly by hydroxylation reaction and as a phase 1 reaction involving these enzymes CYP1A2, 2D6 and 3A, and after which whatever metabolites are generated, okay, by the metabolism through this reaction, they are further conjugated in the phase 2 reactions, that is glucuronide and sulfate conjugation reactions are involved in the further steps of the metabolism. Okay. But though several enzymes are involved, still clinically significant drug interactions are not yet noted with this particular drug. Okay. And mainly it is eliminated through urine or feces also. Okay, because glucuronide conjugation is involved, it is conjugated and secreted in the bile. Okay, where it is deconjugated, reabsorbed, so entire hepatic circulation may be taking place over here. Ultimately, some drug may also be excreted in the feces, okay, as in the form of metabolites. The T half-life of the drug is quite short. It is 3 to 5 hours, and duration of action is 18 to 12 hours. Okay. Then coming to the dose and efficacy of this drug, usually this particular drug, okay, in certain individuals who do not show efficacy alone, when alone ondansetron is administered, generally dexamethasone or promethazine or diazepam, okay, may be added to ondansetron therapy, so it will enhance the antiemetic efficacy of ondansetron by the combinations. Okay, so then coming to the other uses, okay, we have seen that in the introduction, basically these drugs were introduced for cancer chemotherapy or radiation therapy vomiting, right? So apart from this, it is also showing antiemetic efficacy in other types of vomiting also. Okay, like say for example, they were later on found to be effective in post-operative nausea and vomiting. So it is quite commonly used. We have also seen this particular drug are used as pre-anesthetic medications also. Okay, apart from this, vomiting may be also associated as a side effect of certain drugs, okay, or due to overdose of certain drugs, or maybe certain GI disorders, uremia or neurological injuries. Okay, so all these types of vomiting which is associated with all these conditions, so these types of vomiting may be effectively controlled, okay, apart from the cancer chemotherapy and the radiation therapy induced nausea and vomiting. Okay. However, these particular drugs are not effective in motion sickness. Okay, so reason already we have seen that usually the muscarinic and the histaminergic receptors or pathways are involved over there. 5-HT pathway is generally not involved in this motion sickness, a pathway which is originating actually from the vestibular apparatus due to the disturbance in the equilibrium. So that is the reason why this 5-HT3 antagonist, so their efficacy in motion sickness is quite less. Okay, so they are not generally used for motion sickness, that is vomiting associated with the travel. Okay, then morning sickness also, it is effective during the pregnancy, but it should be given only in the severe condition like hyperemesis gravidarum, wherein there is uncontrollable nausea and vomiting. Okay, so unless and until this situation, you are not supposed to prescribe this 5-HT3 antagonist in morning sickness. Coming to the side effects, usually this drug is a well tolerated drug. Only side effect which may be seen quite commonly is headache. Apart from that, mild constipation or diarrhea and abdominal discomfort occur in few patients. Okay. Apart from this, hypotension, bradycardia, chest pain and allergic reactions also may be seen upon the IV injections. Okay. Then next is granisetron. Okay. Now this particular drug, it is this particular drug is 10 times more potent than ondansetron. Okay, and this particular drug is more effective during the repeated cycle of chemotherapy. Now when chemotherapy is instituted, the treatment may be quite prolonged and you may have to repeat the chemotherapy after certain individuals. So generally this granisetron, it is more potent of course as compared to ondansetron, and that too it is preferably utilized in the repetitive cycle of the chemotherapy. Okay, so prolonged chemotherapy may result in delayed type of nausea and vomiting, so that can be effectively controlled by granisetron. Okay. Now one more thing which you should keep in mind over here, as compared to ondansetron, okay, this particular drug granisetron, it does not show any 5-HT4 blockage. Okay, So 5-HT3 blockage, we have seen that mild 5-HT4 blockage is also shown by ondansetron. Okay, so that is not exactly seen with the granisetron. Okay, and the T half life of this drug is quite longer, that is 8 to 12 hours, and it needs to be given only twice on the day of the chemotherapy as compared to other drugs. Okay, so less doses are required because of its prolonged action. Side effect profile, it is similar to that of ondansetron. Okay, so next drug in the class is pelonosetron. Okay, so this particular drug which was introduced as 5-HT3 antagonist, it is the longest acting agent out of all the 5-HT3 antagonists which are introduced. So also it has highest affinity for the 5-HT3 receptor. Okay. Now efficacy wise, if you can see, that is the amount of action which is produced by a particular drug. Okay, so that is comparable to that of ondansetron. So same efficacy it shows in the chemotherapy induced nausea and vomiting. Okay, but it is more effective in suppressing the delayed type of vomiting, okay, which may be seen on the 2nd to 5th day after the chemotherapy has been given to that particular patient. Okay, so why it shows a delayed action is because it has longer duration of action. Okay, so that's the reason why it is more preferably used to control delayed type of vomiting which may be seen maybe on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, sometimes on the 5th day also certain patients may show this nausea and vomiting. Okay, so that can be effectively controlled. Okay, cancer chemotherapy associated nausea and vomiting. Okay, and coming to the kinetics, it is metabolized in the liver as well as in the kidney, and these are the enzymes. CYP2D6 is the main enzyme involved in the metabolism. Apart from that, CYP3A4, 1A2 are also involved in the metabolism. And the side effects include headache, fatigue, dizziness, and abdominal pain. Okay, and more severe than that is this one. Okay, so this is a problem, especially this QT interval prolongation, that is arrhythmia precipitating tendency, can occur when this particular drug is combined with these drugs. Okay, so it becomes additive. So all these also have QT prolongation tendency. So when these drugs are combined with pelonosetron, their tendency to prolong the QT interval, that is their tendency to precipitate the arrhythmias, it adds up. That is, adverse effect is adding up when both these drugs are combined. So, okay, drugs like moxifloxacin or erythromycin, antipsychotics or antidepressants, so these should not be combined with pelonosetron. So there is greater risk of arrhythmia precipitation. Apart from this, when given by rapid IV injection, blurring of vision may also take place. So this is one more adverse effects of this particular drug. Next is ramosetron. Okay, this is again a potent 5-HT3 antagonist which is marketed only in a few countries. Okay, so it is not quite a popular drug used globally. Okay, but in certain countries it is marketed. Okay, properties are similar to that of ondansetron, which we have covered earlier. Okay, this drug is used in the treatment of chemotherapy induced nausea and vomiting. Okay, generally it is injected by IV route and repetition of once daily is sufficient. Okay, in the cancer chemotherapy nausea and vomiting. Okay, apart from that, post-operative nausea and vomiting can also be controlled by this particular drug. And one more use is in this particular condition, diarrhea predominant irritable bowel syndrome. Okay, so this is a condition which is related to your large intestines specifically. Okay, so here diarrhea is quite commonly seen, okay, in this particular condition. So this drug ramosetron can normalize the disturbed colonic functions over here. Okay, specifically this diarrhea which is associated with irritable bowel syndrome can be normalized by ramosetron. So this finishes the 5-HT3 antagonist. Next class is NK1 receptor antagonist. Okay, so as we have seen earlier in the targets and also under EMASs, we have seen that several receptors are involved in the CTZ and the NTS. So one of the receptor is the neurokinin receptor. NK1 receptor is also located in the CTZ and NTS. This receptor is stimulated by substance P, which is one of the mediator which is released in the body. This, by stimulating NK1 receptor, can induce the nausea and vomiting. It has emetogenic tendency of that chemotherapy, which may be involving this substance P also as one of the mediator. Okay, so by blocking this receptor, by using NK1 receptor antagonist, the vomiting associated with the chemotherapy, wherein substance P is mainly involved, can be effectively controlled by this drug. So first drug under this category is aprepitant. Okay, so this is a recently introduced drug, as we have seen in the previous slide, that it will block the NK1 receptor. It has the affinity for NK1 receptor. It can antagonize this receptor. It can block the receptor so that the emetogenic action of the substance P is blocked. Whereas other receptors, it has very little action, like 5-HT3 or D2 or any other receptors may not be blocked by this particular drug. It is NK1 receptor which is mainly blocked by aprepitant. Okay. GI motility is not affected, like what we have seen with the prokinetic drugs. Mainly GI motility is increased, so such kind of action is not shown by aprepitant. Okay. Then in combination with this IV ondansetron or dexamethasone, okay, generally it is given in combination. The oral aprepitant may be combined with this particular regimen, so that the efficacy, anti-emetic efficacy of this combination is enhanced. Okay. Against mainly the cancer chemotherapy, like this cisplatin or cyclophosphamide. So when these drugs are used in the cancer chemotherapy, there are high chances of precipitation of the emesis. So this combination can be given, and to this oral aprepitant may also be added, so that efficacy of this combination of IV ondansetron and dexamethasone will be enhanced. Okay. Then apart from this, apart from chemotherapy, it is also effective in post-operative nausea and vomiting also. Coming to the kinetics, oral absorption of this drug is quite good. It penetrates the blood-brain barrier, so CNS effects are seen, and metabolized mainly in the liver by CYP3A4. Okay. And metabolites, they are mainly eliminated in bile. Okay. So they will be excreted out of the body through feces and in urine also. Both the pathways are followed by the drug for the excretion. The half-life of the drug is 9 to 13 hours, so it is quite a longer acting drug. Okay. And since it is metabolized by this enzyme CYP3A4, so drugs which can either induce or inhibit this particular enzyme may interact with aprepitant. So you should be cautious while combining the drugs. As far as possible, such drugs should be avoided. The drugs which can either induce or inhibit the enzyme CYP3A4. Okay. Then one more interaction is with dexamethasone and warfarin. So their dose needs to be reduced, if at all they have to be combined with aprepitant. Okay. Then, and this is one more interaction. QT interval prolonging tendency, it is enhanced if it is combined with such drugs which can prolong the QT interval, like cisapride. We have seen that it has a tendency to prolong the QT interval, and arrhythmia precipitating tendency is there. So as far as possible, avoid co-prescribing aprepitant along with such drug which can prolong the QT interval. So there is greater risk of precipitation of arrhythmias. And coming to the adverse effects, these include weakness, fatigue, that is tiredness, flatulence, that is passage of gases. Then the rarely rise in the liver enzymes may also be seen. So this signifies the liver damage may be there. Next drug is fosaprepitant. This is actually a prodrug of aprepitant which can be given by parenteral. Aprepitant is generally given by oral route, and this drug fosaprepitant, this is actually a prodrug of aprepitant. So in the body it will be metabolized, aprepitant will be released, and this is responsible for the actual action. So this is a prodrug designed to administer this drug by parenteral route for emergency conditions. Next is adjuvant antiemetics, the last class. Okay, so as the name implies, these are used as an adjuvant to certain combinations, to the main drugs which we have covered so far. Okay, so first category under this is corticosteroids. Example is dexamethasone in the dose of 8 to 20 milligrams IV. Okay, so this particular corticosteroids class, they can alleviate nausea and vomiting. Alleviate meaning to decrease the severity of nausea and vomiting which may be associated with the chemotherapy. Okay, so chemotherapy induced nausea and vomiting can be suppressed by the corticosteroids. Okay, so also they may enhance the efficacy of other main drugs when they are given in combination, like say metoclopramide or ondansetron. So when they are combined along with these drugs, okay, so their efficacy can be enhanced. Okay. Next subclass under this is benzodiazepines. So benzodiazepines also we have covered under the chapter sedative hypnotics in detail. Okay, so these benzodiazepines, they produce a weak antiemetic action. Okay, now basically this antiemetic property is based on its sedative action. Okay, and mainly the anticipatory actions or the associated effects which are seen, those can be effectively controlled by benzodiazepine, because we have seen that benzodiazepines, they have quite a lot many properties, like say for example they have anti-anxiety property. Okay, so when these drugs are used as an adjuvant drug to metoclopramide or ondansetron, diazepam or lorazepam may be used. Okay, these are the two examples of benzodiazepines which may be combined with these two main drugs. So it will help, okay, or it may add to the antiemetic activity by relieving the anxiety, or maybe anticipatory vomiting. Okay, so that can be, or they produce the amnesia. Okay, so slightly a dreamlike state will be produced. Okay, so so any kind of unpleasant procedures are to be carried out. Okay, so it creates an amnesia, and that's how it may add to its antiemetic property. Okay, so rather as such directly they will not have antiemetic property, but other anticipatory actions may be suppressed. Okay, even one more use of this particular benzodiazepines is that the dystonia, muscle dystonia, which is produced as a side effect by metoclopramide due to D2 blockage, so that can also be suppressed by benzodiazepines. Okay, because it has muscle relaxant property. And the next subclass under adjuvant drugs is cannabinoids. Okay, now under this there are three drugs. The first one is this one, delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol. This is the accepted short form, delta 9 THC. This is actually an active principle from this particular source, cannabis indica. Actually it is a drug of abuse liability. It's actually under the hallucinogen category. Okay. Hallucinogen is a drug which will induce hallucinosis. Okay. So actually these drugs do not have any therapeutic properties. Okay, but this particular active principle, it possesses antiemetic activity. Specifically the chemotherapy induced nausea and vomiting can be controlled by this particular delta 9 THC. Okay. Now how it acts is, specifically it acts by activating the cannabinoid receptor, that is CB1 subtype of receptor, cannabinoid receptor in the vomiting center or at the CTZ can be activated. Minded, it is activation. All the other receptors are blocked, but here there is activation of this CB1 subtype of cannabinoid receptors, and that's how it is showing antiemetic property. Next drug under this category is dronabinol. This is actually a pure delta 9 THC which is either synthesized in the laboratory or which is extracted from the natural source. So obviously mechanism remains the same. So this can be used in chemotherapy associated nausea and vomiting. Okay, however, these are the problems: hallucinogenic tendency, disorientation, central symptomatic effects. So these are the major limitation with the use of this drug. And of course the major limitation is the abuse liability. Okay, so they have CNS effect, pleasurable effects, so the person may become dependent on these drugs. Okay, so as far as possible these drugs are not promoted as antiemetics. Okay, then the last drug is Nebulon under this category, also acts by similar mechanism. Okay, so it also has antiemetic property. So this finishes the chapter. The important questions pertaining to this chapter are the classification of antiemetic drugs, or definition, classification, then the note on prokinetic drugs may be asked, or the mechanism of any of the drug may also be asked. Okay, so these are some of the important questions, and of course the justification like questions also, which we have discussed during the chapters. Okay, so such type of questions may also be asked.